All right. So I know some of you can see that I'm on. I cannot yet see that I'm on, so I have to wait until I can see that I'm on to be on because I can't see your questions. So bear with me a few minutes as we get things going. See, the light has come on, so maybe, tweets. I'm going to go ahead and retweet this. Bear with me again. And waiting for myself to be able to see myself in the YouTube. I hope everyone's having a great time, great Saturday, and coming off a great week one. Interesting week, a lot of things going on today. We're getting a lot of resolution early this week. I'll talk about the news as soon as I can start seeing your comments. Appreciate you coming. Again, we're going to do this every week in lieu of me answering Twitter questions, which has not been that efficient for me. I apologize for that, but not really. Glad to come on here. As always, you encourage you to visit the website, footballdiehards.com. You'll find complete rankings, all kinds of content, columns, advice, news and information as well that'll keep you rolling. I'll touch on some of that as soon as I can actually see that I'm there. And I know some of you can see me and I cannot, so be patient for a brief moment, and I'll get there as soon as I'm able to hit the video link and see your comments. Ask me anything. That's what we're doing here. As soon as I can see the questions. This usually takes just a minute. I know this is a YouTube thing. For some people, it's faster than for other people. And often the other people that it's not fast enough for are me. Not sure how to overcome that, but we're working on it. But either way, a little patience. We're just now at the scheduled start time, so I'm not late yet. Give me a minute. Don't sell me short. I'm very good at being late. If you're waiting patiently, I am too. So I can see your comments and see the questions as they come up. Otherwise, this doesn't actually work because I can't get your questions if I can't see them. So give me just a minute here, and I'm sure I will be able to see you momentarily. I'm Bob Harris. Most of you here probably know that. You may have even come to see it's me, or at least get your questions answered by me, for you, from footballdiehards.com, right here on our YouTube channel, which hopefully will allow me to see your questions momentarily. Stand by, be patient, more patient than me. That's not hard. That's what I'm told. Patience is a virtue, not necessarily one of mine. And I can see me now, and I will enter the room. That's not hard. And you can hear me talking because I'm on a delay, so I'll close the chat. I'll turn on the chat so I can see the questions. I'll say something so you know I'm here. And I do thank you for coming and appreciate your time and patience. Appreciate your patience on, allowing me to do it this way as opposed to on the Twitter where I've done it before. Just a very inefficient means of putting things together. I will let everybody gather around for a few minutes and see the viewers showing up. So thanks again for coming on. Bob Harris, Senior Editor of footballdiehards.com. We have all kinds of things going on for you there. We wish you would visit the site. Go to footballdiehards.com/free trial if you're not a subscriber yet, and take a look around, take the tour, guide yourself, see what you can find. I think it'll be something you like. Definitely check out the staff cheat sheet. We'll have the latest, adjusted to reflect the latest developments and news, notes, and information all linked to from that. It's kind of like a master page you can go to find out all the latest information. We have tons of video content, podcasts, news, notes, information, columns, advice, and all those things that you want, but also have those here. And I'm ready to take your questions whenever you want to start throwing them out there. So feel free to do that. Just to set the table, Michael Thomas, not looking good. We'll have the injury report on the Monday night game here shortly. Seems like Henry Ruggs is perhaps going to get back on the practice field. Michael Thomas was not. He seems unlikely to play with a high ankle sprain, but we'll know a little more when the injury report comes out. But we do know some guys that are out. George Kittle has been ruled out officially. And by the way, if you are on Periscope or Twitch or any of the other platforms, go ahead and come to the YouTube channel. That's where I'm seeing the questions, and that's where I'll answer them at. So if you're on a different platform, go ahead and click the links to the Football Diehards YouTube, youtube.com/Football Diehards. That's where you can get your questions actually answered. Otherwise, you're going to ask them and shake your fist at me and wonder why I'm not answering. That's why, because I'm answering here. Chris Godwin ruled out today, so we got a little resolution there. He was listed as doubtful on the initial injury report, and pending further testing. The further testing did not go his way. Seemed like a short window for him. He wasn't put in the protocol until Wednesday. Didn't have symptoms Monday or Tuesday. Did on Wednesday, so they added him to the injury report on Wednesday with the concussion. Then he has to work through the protocol. That's a process. It's a series of tests and then benchmarks and then increased activity. And so there we go. So I guess I'm getting questions that I can't see. I'll refresh my screen and see if that helps me out. But I do have some questions. Let me get through the injuries here real quick. George Kittle ruled out. Kenny Golladay out. A.J. Brown out. Jamison Crowder's out. Le'Veon Bell is out. Philip Lindsay is out. James Conner is in, apparently. Did practice fully on Friday. Talked to a local observer there. He doesn't know what to make of this. Alex Correa, because I got to say his name right. Alex came on last night and suggested that it could go just about any way with that. So be careful. Miles Sanders is in as well. Going against the Rams. A little worried about the workload, but we'll see if we can get it. Getting some questions here in from Periscope from Emil Cadlick, who was watching there. In one of the leagues, this listener lost A.J. Brown, Godwin, and Kittle. Gronk or Herndon, Melvin Gordon or Hines. Melvin Gordon has a horrible matchup. I think, if you're playing anticipated workload and looking for floor, we saw how low the floor can be when we saw what Saquon Barkley did against the Pittsburgh defense, and it was bad. So I do like the workload. I think Hines, in a PPR gives you a reasonable floor as a receiver. So if you want to go that way, I wouldn't blame you. Gotti Jr., any chance the Patriots keep Cam Newton if Cam ends up doing good for the Patriots this year? My guess would be yes. There is a chance. And yes, my second guess would be Cam will make more money if that's the case. So look, they've come up with a really good plan. We'll see if they continue to run him the way they ran him in the first game. A number of designed runs, also a number of they gave him a lot of run pass options, and he ended up running a fair amount of the time, 15 carries. So that was good. From Periscope, Cortland, Sutton, or Scottie Miller. Sutton, I'm told by Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post last night, seems very questionable to him. He worries about him being decoy. Also, Pittsburgh, it's a very tough matchup. Also, Darius Slayton scored against him reasonably easily. I'd probably pass on Sutton this week and give Scottie Miller a shot. With no Chris Godwin, he moves up in the rotation. I don't know what I expect from the tight ends. Gronk didn't look very good to me in this last game. I thought it was pretty poor showing. He seemed to block a lot, and that was the thing we was told he wouldn't do. He'd be used specifically as a receiver. He was used to block. It seemed a lot on his snaps in the game. So that's my concern there. So Miller, yes, a good play and a good deep threat, great speed. I think, you want to watch Justin Watson. There's a little talk from the local observers that Tyler Johnson, the rookie wide receiver, could make a little hay this week. I wouldn't go that far, but it is a pretty great matchup for the Tampa Bay offense. S. Mazica. Hi, Mr. Harris, he says. Hi. PPR needs one wide receiver, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. All right, man. You're gonna have to narrow these down a little bit to either or. So I'm gonna go through this, but it's really difficult for me to sit here and spend the time working through these like this. 1 wide receiver, 2 running backs, and a flex. So I'm playing Chark, playing Miles Sanders, probably playing Dobbins. Wouldn't talk you out of Cam Akers. I think Joshua Kelly's an okay play too. I don't know about Snell, so that's a little rough there. So I'm probably going to go with Sanders and Dobbins, and the flex would probably be Campbell. And that is possible. So again, the long, complex questions, these are more difficult. We have flex rankings on the Football Diehards, the staff rankings. We have flex rankings if you need to work your way through these things. That might be a little more informative for you as well. PPR, one running back and one flex out of Connor, James White, Montgomery, and Djax. So I'd probably play Montgomery for the workload. I just don't know what to expect from Connor, right? And Denver's got it's a pretty tough matchup. They held Derrick Henry to less than 4 yards a carry, and they shut him down at the goal line 3 times. I'm not sure I'm expecting a high-end game from Connor, even if he makes it through the whole game. I'm a little concerned about that. So I'd probably avoid him in this one. I'd probably go Montgomery, and the flex, I'd be fine playing James White there. I think the workload will be sufficient. And Djax, they say they're going to target him more. I don't know that they will. Hey, Jay-Z, Bob, Edelman, Paris Campbell, or Moss? Half-point flex spot. Thanks, Jay. Boy, Paris Campbell's a guy that really seems to be coming on, right? They targeted him heavily. He looks like he's turning into the thing they want him to be. I'm probably still going Edelman in this one. There's a lot of talk that he's going to get increased targets, or they're going to try and throw the ball a little more against Seattle. It's a pretty favorable matchup, at least according to the Falcons. So I'd probably go in that direction. I wouldn't talk you out of Moss. I think it's reasonable to expect them to run the ball well against Miami. It's just there's 3 options there. Between Josh Allen, Singletary, and Moss. I mean, Moss got in the end zone last week. Will it be this week? Will Josh Allen call his own number there? He's had a lot of success against the Dolphins. Not anti-Moss, just leaning a little more Edelman in this one, a little more known role, but it's very close. Master of Puppets or Rain and Blood? Master of Puppets. If we were talking Season in the Abyss, might be a different answer. After the injuries to Jarwin and Doyle, he needs a tight end, Rick Bruciuelas. 14-team league, safe with Olsen or go with upside Reed, Akins, or Ali Cox? I think Olsen is relatively safe, right? It's a tough matchup for him this week, though. If you want to go with the upside, I think Ali Cox in an offense that, obviously makes heavy use of the tight end seems reasonable. I liked Akins last week, and I feel like we're chasing Reed's points, but that's a pretty sweet matchup. Probably as I, kind of work my way through this one, this is a case where I'd probably take the shot on Reed. I'm trying not to overdo it because I'm a Reed fan. He's familiar with the offense from the time with Shanahan in Washington. It's a great opportunity. I don't know who the wide receivers I would trust there would be, right? It's really difficult to figure out. I also worry that he's one big hit away, as we've seen before, but so is anybody. So I guess Reed in this case. Anthony B, James Conner or Zach Moss in a full point PPR. I'm probably going Moss in that one. Just in, Michael Thomas is out Monday night, so won't have to worry about that. A little resolution there always makes it easier for us to figure things out. I mean, always that air of mystery going into a Monday night or Sunday night game when someone is doubtful even. It's very difficult. Back to James Conner or Zach Moss. Again, James Conner, I don't think the Denver matchup is easy, even if he gets the full workload. He wasn't that impressive before he was hurt against Cleveland. I mean, I don't want to read too much into it, but if I have 2 guys and one of them's healthy and one of them is not, I generally go with the healthy guy. And Moss had a little bit of work in the passing game, so I'd probably go there. Whitesnake or Def Leppard? Do I have to pick one of those? I guess it's Whitesnake because I'm a big Tommy Aldridge fan. Would I play Hines as a PPR flex instead of Evans, Gallup, Fuller, or Lockett? I don't like Fuller's matchup. Still probably would not play Hines over him. I mean, if I had to pick one of those, it would probably be Fuller. Just that Bradley Roby matchup is going to be tough. Or not Bradley Roby, the Baltimore matchup is going to be tough. I think Marquise Brown's matchup is tough too. But man, there's so much upside for Fuller. It'd be hard for me to sit him. I don't know that I'd sit any of those 4 wide receivers. Pick 3, Fernando Castillo says, between Will Fuller, Hollywood Brown, Chris Carson, Terry McLaurin. McLaurin has a really tough matchup too. So does Brown. Fuller's matchup is tough as well. I mean, I'm going to play Chris Carson. First law of flexology for me is the feature back. And I think Carson still fits that role. Even if, they are going to pass heavy, apparently Chris Carson will have a role. So I think they'll be running more, though, as well. I'm going to probably go Fuller and Brown and leave Terry McLaurin against Patrick Peterson out. because I have a high hopes for Logan Thomas. Maybe I'm too invested there. Tough matchups for both Brown and Fuller, but I think they have that super speed and athleticism to make those big plays, maybe a little more so than McLaurin. Certainly better quarterbacks in both cases. Thoughts on Deontay Johnson going forward? Again, talked to Alex last night. I should look and make sure I'm pronouncing his last name before I say something stupid again. Alex Kozora. Talked to him last night. He's really high on Deontay Johnson. I mean, Juju's going to have his role, and I don't think, that precludes, Johnson from being what he is. And we saw it this past week. I mean, he's going to be fairly heavily targeted. And it goes back to last season. So I think he's a solid wide receiver too. And, maybe with a little bit of upside in any given week going forward. Higbee or Hurst this week? Slight lean to Higbee. Wouldn't talk you out of Hurst at all. I mean, they're both well inside our top 10 this week. I think Hurst gets targeted more. I don't think Russell Gage keeps getting 12 targets a week. I suppose it's possible, but I think that normalizes some as we go forward. And this is like a huge over-under in this game. William Washington wants to know if he should take out Keenan Allen for Corey Davis. I'd be tempted to, right? I mean, you hate to base everything on 1 week. Look, Keenan Allen has 3 straight years of super high-end production. The change of quarterback makes you wonder if he's as great a fit for what Tyrod Taylor does as for what Phillip Rivers did. More of a deep ball thrower. We saw Mike Williams get most of the run in this one. Obviously, A.J. Brown out, as mentioned. So I guess that would be the concern for me. Am I taking Corey Davis? Is this like his Devontae Parker moment? I'm probably sticking with Allen and playing it safe. Honestly, I think one of the parts of this equation, William. Look, I just want to stipulate this as you keep asking questions, but I mean, we're still gathering data, over the course as we play each game that will ultimately support or not the research we did leading up to our drafts. And that's the thing. We've been working on assumptions and presumed outcomes based on an incomplete set of facts, and which we do every season, right? It seems like more complete this year, but we do this every season. And football is, one of those weird games, individual humans competing in individual battles on each and every snap. So, the ball is an oblong spheroid. It's designed to bounce funny ways. Coaches and players spend time studying tendencies and looking to gain edges. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they're unexpected advantages. I think in Corey Davis's case, he gets kind of a little unexpected advantage, or at least an unexpected bump. Not everyone was not expecting this, though. Teron Davenport, who writes for ESPN, covers the Titans there, wrote in his bold predictions before week 1 that he thinks both Davis and Brown will be 1,000-yard receivers. So there's that. But, the long picture, the big picture tells you Keenan Allen is the way smarter play here. So I hope that helps you. Like, sometimes there's not a right answer, right? Sometimes your answer is the right answer. And my answer is just trying to help you understand the thought process and how you arrive at the right answer. So for me, it'd be Keenan Allen. If it was Corey Davis for you, I would not hold that against you, William Washington. Steve Linder, half-point PPR, needs a flex and a wide receiver. Chark, Miles Sanders, Marquise Brown. Well, I think Chark is pretty safe play. Miles Sanders, I'm probably going with. I don't necessarily trust the workload. Marquise Brown, I think, has huge upside. Again, the Bradley Roby matchup is very tough for him, but Brown's speed, he's always going to be capable of big plays. So maybe you look at it like this. And I'm going to say, my answer is going to be Chark and Miles Sanders. But if you think you need a swing for the fence play, and I wouldn't talk you out of putting Marquise Brown in over Miles Sanders. I see a question down below. Do I trust Sanders? Anthony B is asking, or should he play him over Hines, full point PPR? And that's kind of the problem. I mean, I don't necessarily mistrust Sanders, but I also realize he hasn't really seen any action through most of camp, right? They kept him on the shelf with the hamstring issue, the same one that sidelined him last week. So, and it's a tough match. This Aaron Donald fellow is very good. That's part of it. And the offensive line issues there are a bit of a concern. So probably I trust him enough to play him over Hines, give him a shot. That's maybe also partly informed by the fact I'm all in on Jonathan Taylor. I think his role is big. I do think Hines has a role similar to last week. He has a fair amount of receiving equity and a full-point PPR. I would talk you out of this. I'm leaning Sanders slightly, but I have the same concerns that you do. Does he get the full role? Boston Scott was, uninspiring, right, in his limited work last week, or the work we saw last week, when he should have been in a good position to get the job done. So maybe the offensive line woes are the determining factor for you here and going with Hines, if that's what you do. Same full PPR for Rick Brusuelas. Sorry if I'm butchering any names here. I'm not good at that. James Conner, Adrian Peterson. Again, it's the same thing with Conner. Do you trust him after last week? Yes, he's off the injury report. Also, yes, he missed 3/4 of that game with a sprained ankle. I don't know that he's 100%. I do know Denver's pretty tough. Once again, they slowed Derrick Henry. I mean, the end result was pretty good, but, it's 3.7, I think, yards per carry, and the three stuffs at the goal line. So, a little worried. Did Benny Snell do enough to maybe persuade Mike Tomlin that he doesn't want to go with just one guy, that maybe James Conner isn't that guy? Does Conner get nicked early on? Peterson, I think, has the same role. The concern in this game would be that Detroit falls behind and doesn't run the ball, right? So, and Peterson had a couple targets thrown his way, so probably leaning slightly Peterson. I'm hoping this is like, down the range a little bit on your running backs and use some higher upside plays. Maybe if not, maybe you need a guy that maybe can get the job done. You roll the dice on Conner, because I think Peterson is more of a floor play than a high ceiling play. All right, Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Half-point PPR, Michael Thomas owner, and I'm sure you heard he's out. Thinking of starting Calvin Ridley, Hollywood, Eckler, Carson, Jay Smith, Jonnu Smith in the flex. I think that's a lot of names for me to stand here and try and figure out. I'm not eager to play DJ Moore in this one. I'm eager to play DJ Moore, but Carlton Davis has turned into a beast. I think Chark is still a great high volume play. I think you're counting on a little bit, of upside from. The only thing I think about is maybe Chark over Hollywood Brown. That said, I want to piece the Baltimore offense. So I think you got this dialed in with the flex with Jonathan Taylor. All right, Anthony. Thanks for all the insight. So glad thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. Brad Stewart, Godwin owner, full point PPR, needs 2 of 3. Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, too risky to double up on Dallas wide receivers with plus matchup. I don't think it's too risky. I think they can all get the job done. That said, I'd probably spread it out a little bit and go Deontay Johnson. I still like Gallup there. So there you have it. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. Appreciate the compliment on guitars as well. Last question from you, Anthony B. You can ask more. We got time. Will Fuller, Emmanuel Sanders, PPR. Well, now that we know that Michael Thomas is out, I'm tempted to go Sanders. Look, Will Fuller is a great player in a tough matchup. That whole offense has a tough matchup, right? So, but that said, I think Will Fuller is the kind of playmaker that can make plays no matter what. I don't think, I think he can get loose. He has the speed and ability to get loose, but that's what you're counting on. So if that's what you're interested in, I'm fine with that. I think Sanders is more of a high floor play, Fuller more of a high ceiling play. If it was me, I'm probably playing Fuller because I love him so much, and it probably to my detriment when I do. TS, Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb, or Anthony Miller to fill in for Godwin. Boy, I like Anthony Miller an awful lot. I'm not sure the offense is as high-powered. I'd probably go Deontay Johnson in this one. Kevin O'Brien, I missed your question right before Jennifer. Best flex between Marvin Jones, Corey Davis, CeeDee Lamb, Dobbins, and Ingram. Wow. Wish we had a little clarity on that, Dobbins. I'm sure you wish that as well. Without the clarity on that backfield, I'd probably go Corey Davis in this one. Look, I don't dislike CeeDee Lamb. I love this Dallas offense. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm just going with the guy higher up in the pecking order in this case. Sorry to miss you earlier, Kevin. Hector, do I think this will be Kyler Murray's breakout year? I think it already is. It just seems like, right? That was a great game against San Francisco. He looks so fast. I know that you'd like to see the overall passing numbers be better. I think they will get better. Man, DeAndre Hopkins, I moved him down in my rankings, and I know I'm going to take a lot of flack for that over the course of the year. And when I say moved him down, I had him 5th, right? But it looks like the targets are going to be there, and he's going to cash in on them. And I think that was a concern. I'm still fine with the players I have above him, the 4 I have above him. Michael Thomas, although obviously that's not working out as well as I hoped with the injury. But Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, I'll live with that one, and Julio Jones. But DeAndre Hopkins looks great, and I think that's going to work out well for Kyler Murray, whose speed and athleticism is going to make him a big difference maker. All right, Brad Stewart with Kittle out, Jonnu Smith and Logan Thomas on the wire. Your preference, standard scoring. I'm going to go with Jonnu Smith here, but man, Logan Thomas's matchup is phenomenal. You can go to my 3 and out column for the DFS 3 and out tournament. The Cardinals traditionally not really good at guarding the tight ends. I know Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons was drafted in part because of that. I know they wiped out George Kittle last week, but mostly because they hurt him. And Logan Thomas just got tons of targets. What was it? 8 targets. He was heavily targeted, a lot of air yards on those targets. So go read that piece and before you make your final decision. My biggest concern with Jonnu Smith is the presence of Mike Pruitt and Anthony Firkser. Those guys can vulture touchdowns, it seems. So check that. And look, Terry McLaurin has a tough matchup with Peterson, and that's part of why I like Logan Thomas. I just don't want to force my love of Logan Thomas on anyone else. I want you to go read that article and then make your decision. Brad, thank you. Point per completion. Wentz or Rivers? He's asking because of the PPC. Thanks again. I'm probably going Rivers. Does anyone have a lot of confidence in Wentz, given the offensive line issues and going against the Rams? I mean, he was sacked 8 times last week. I think Washington probably has an okay defense. I think the Rams have a really much better front line. Jalen Ramsey in the mix there as well down the field. I'm going to go with Rivers in this one. He's going to sling it. We know that. And a lot of high percentage passes for him, right? The dump offs to the backs, the tight ends. So that's probably that's obviously the defining factor here is the point per completion. I'd probably lean that way. Kevin O'Brien, full PPR flex, DJ Chark or Scottie Miller. I'm going Chark. Who's the odd man out, says Shad Foster. Michael Gallup, Emmanuel Sanders, Robbie Anderson, or Scottie Miller. Standard scoring 12-team league. Probably Robbie Anderson. And it's obviously between Robbie Anderson and Scottie Miller for me. Both of them have opportunities. We saw Anderson cash in last week. He won a lot of leagues for me. He and Malcolm Brown in my lineups were, took care of business. I don't know that I expect that every week. That said, the matchups probably favor him in this game. Again, DJ Moore-face and Carlton Davis, I think, for the most part. So I'm gonna say Scottie Miller's the odd man out here, but really either of those two would be fine. I'm definitely playing Gallup and Sanders now that Michael Thomas is out. Brad Stewart, standard scoring, David Montgomery or David Johnson. Thanks again, he says. I like David Johnson. I thought he looked really good. That 19-yard touchdown was a thing of beauty. He did it against the Chiefs defense that looks like not quite as much as the Baltimore defense. I don't want to overplay the matchup, and overstate the case, because even against the best defenses, their, offense happens. But I'm a little bit concerned about that matchup. Henry Ruggs is questionable. I'm just getting in. So we now have the Monday injury report in. So we have Michael Thomas out. In case you missed it at the top, I'll just run through it again. Chris Godwin out, Michael Thomas out, Chris Godwin out, George Kittle out, Kenny Golladay out, A.J. Brown out, Jameson Crowder and Le'Veon Bell out, Phillip Lindsay out, James Conner in. So there we have it on that. And then we just learned Henry Ruggs is listed as questionable. So something to watch for on Monday night situations. I like to avoid him. Great to have that clarity on Michael Thomas. Not great that he's out, but great that we don't have to, wait for a questionable designation or the uncertainty that goes with that. Who should he stream for George Kittle? Robert, give me some options of players available to you. Emil, do you have anyone else on the Periscope? I'm trying to get to those as well. If you want to send them, I'll try to get to those as well. I think one of the things that going back to the Scottie Miller, I talked to a number of observers in Tampa who were, who've said the connection has been there. And I've got some here we go. But the connection with Tom Brady and Scottie Miller has been very positive. I think the same people told me that Mike Evans looked like he had the best chemistry early on with Brady. And so we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how healthy Evans is. It's a great matchup. This should be a good game for him, and I think okay for Scottie Miller. We'll see how the tight ends play out. Again, we're gathering data still, right? We're 2 weeks, second week of the season. Casey Camholtz on Periscope or from Periscope. What do you like in order as far as Anthony Miller, Paris Campbell, Deontay Johnson go? I would probably those are all three great plays. I would probably order them Johnson, Miller, and Campbell. I think, in another week or two, though, we may view Paris Campbell in a different way. He's very fast. They drafted him to be something. I think he's turning into that. But I think there's a lot of options there. I think it's a little narrow band of targets and weaponry in those other two cases. So Johnson, Miller, Campbell for me. There he goes. Robert Uribe, Chris Herndon, Logan Thomas. I'd probably play Herndon. It's a tougher matchup. I think he's, they just don't have a lot of weapons. Look, this is probably either or. I love Logan Thomas, but I love him as like a DFS tournament play. I don't know if the same, if he's going to have that huge floor. It's a great matchup for him. If you're okay being aggressive with that, I think it's a great matchup. I love playing him. He's cheap price on DFS. So that's the direction I'm going there. I think Chris Herndon's role could be more substantial in this offense, but it's a horrible matchup for the Jets, and they don't have a really good offense right now. So I'm probably talking myself into Logan Thomas on this, which is kind of sad. Chris Herndon's a guy I've loved, for like 3 years. We've been waiting for him to show up. All right, Kevin O'Brien, full PPR, flex, Watkins, CeeDee Lamb, or Hines. Probably go Hines in that case, Lamb, and then Watkins. I loved Watkins' game last week, but this is how it works, right? They lure us in, set the trap with the big game bait, and leave us hanging. I think any Chiefs player not named Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire are going to be, kind of week-to-week situations, and it's going to be hard to divine which one comes up. Maybe we gain a little clarity as we go forward, but I don't feel like we have it yet dating back to what we saw last year. They're going to be DeMarcus Robinson games. Hell, he could have had 2 touchdowns in this game had the ball been, it was that close. So, and we know Mecole Hardman will show up at some point, and we've seen even Byron Pringle show up. So it's kind of tough for me to count on Watkins. I like the upside. It's a pretty tough matchup too for the Chiefs. I know they're kind of matchup proof from the fantasy mind, but yeah, that's the direction I'm going. Half point PPR, Trubisky or Bridgewater. I'm going to lean Trubisky here a little bit and hope he can continue. It's pretty good matchups for his wideouts like Miller, like Robinson. I have another question on Robinson I'll get to here in a second. But, yeah, that's probably the lean. Equanimeous St. Brown goes on injured reserve. He missed last week's game or missed practice this week with a knee injury. So that makes it a little, keeps it narrowed down in Green Bay to Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is going to get a lot of targets. That's what I'm saying. You heard me. You heard it here first, or in the game last week first. Do you think Allen Robinson will live up to his draft ADP this season? Yes. I think Allen Robinson is a very good player. I think the quarterbacking this year will be, to whatever degree, whoever it ends up being over the course of time, maybe split up, whatever, I think will be better. Because there's a competition and they'll get the best guy in there. His numbers were great last year. I think he'll live up to that. Brittany Coleman, 2 questions. PPR play, Taylor or Drake? Play Logan Thomas or Gesicki or O.J. Howard? Man, y'all are trying to put me on the spot with this Logan Thomas. I love him. I love the matchup. I don't have a lot of data to hang my hat on here. That said, I don't have a ton with Gesicki. I have a 5-game sample from last year. This is a tough matchup against the Bills defense. So, look, I don't want to go Thomas crazy here. Gesicki's the logical play. Any question that includes Logan Thomas, I want to play him. So when you ask me that, realize that's the answer. Go read my DFS 3-and-out column. You'll understand why. But that's maybe more of a tournament play, where you're trying to find a guy who could maybe have a spike game, favorable matchup, cheap pricing. I mean, you drafted Gesicki. I don't trust Howard yet. I'd like to see a little more from him. So it'd probably be Gesicki is probably the smart choice over Thomas, but love those targets last week. And that's the thing. I don't want to be chasing the points, but chasing the points in a good matchup is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Full point PPR, Drew Brees or Big Ben. I'm probably going to go with Big Ben in that one. I'm glad to give you that. Sometimes that's all we need, right? An FAF. I don't know what that means. I think that's kid talk for something. The AF part, anyway. But yeah, sometimes, you just like to talk through it and get the take. And that's honestly, that's what I'm trying to do, you guys. I'm not here to make the decisions for you. They're your decisions. You're the one who has to deal with them on Monday. I can sit here smugly smiling and not worrying about what happened to your team as I look at mine. And that's what I'm worried about, right? So I'm just trying to share a little bit of the process, and the decisions you come to based on that is really what's important. Because, I mean, in the end, that's why you play. You want to make these decisions. Steve Lindor, PPR, Montgomery or Taylor? I'm going Taylor. I'm kind of all in. I don't know why I'm not as all in on Logan Thomas as I am on Taylor, but I am. Taylor is my guy. I think he's really well positioned in this offense now that Marlon Mack is done for the year. If you didn't hear it, everybody, Michael Thomas has been ruled out. Will not play him Monday night. Not a big surprise. Kind of been the expectation there. Would I play Drake or Taylor as my running back too? I would play Drake and Taylor. I would play Drake over Taylor, and I would play both of them. I would try to find a way to play both of them, Brittany. I would try to find a way to play both of them. But Drake over Taylor, if that's what you made me do. Full PPR, Darren Waller, Dallas Goddard. I'm probably going Waller in this one. Look, Dallas Goddard had a great game, and maybe he has another. Maybe he has them every single week. But I'm still playing the depth chart at this point. Again, if you didn't hear me at the beginning, we're still gathering data, right? Every week is adds to what we already know. But what we already know dates back to last year, right? And even previous to that, in John Gruden offenses, we've seen the heavy usage of tight end. That's where, Jared Cook came on strong and ended up getting him a nice payday in New Orleans. So, and last year, Gruden telling us that the tight end is the heartbeat of his offense. I know they have more weapons. I mentioned Henry Ruggs is questionable this week, but still they have more weapons around him. I'm still playing that guy. And if Goddard, over time establishes that that's, his role and not a 1 week spike, and that, I'm going to chase last week's points and get, Zach Ertz, I'm not going to be happy about it. So I'm just playing the depth chart still at this point. So wouldn't talk you out of Goddard. Like anything I'm telling you here. If you're sitting there saying, Bob, I hate that answer, I'm going to do this other thing. You should do that other thing, right? It's your team. So, but I'm playing Waller. Antonio Gibson will take over soon in Washington. Define soon, Hector. I don't know. I think they want him to. I think that's their desired outcome based on the workloads that we heard about in training camp. That seems like their desired outcome. Just like at some point Cam Akers is going to take over in Los Angeles, and J.K. Dobbins is going to take over in Baltimore if he hasn't already. So, that's kind of where I'm at. I think part of this is trying to understand what the teams want, the outcome they want, because they're going to work hard to make that happen. We saw he got a reasonable enough snap share, so I think we're trending in that direction. Peyton Barber, touchdowns aside, did very little with his workload, right? Averaged less than 2 yards a carry. I kind of think that's what he's been over the course of his career. So I do think it's going to happen soon. Is it 1 game, 4 games, 6 games? I think in the case of him, Akers, you're going to kind of be, you're going to have to kind of play it by ear. I'd like to see it for a week or two before I started working it, and hopefully the draft capital invested allows you the opportunity to do that. You can kind of sit back and be patient, and you have better options that you can start in the interim until he turns into that thing. Brittany, Saquon, running back 1. Am I concerned? I think he has a bounce back. This just in. He's very good. It's not the easiest matchup again this week, but Adrian Peterson looked pretty good against the Bears. So I think he'll be fine. Look, he's such an athletic freak, and I just think it was a tough game. We knew Pittsburgh's defense was tough, and they proved it. I expected more from them. I didn't think they'd be that tough, but it happens. Keep playing them like you drafted them. That's the other thing. We're sitting here and it's easy to kind of, get caught up. I always talk about it. Don't look down the drinking straw. Look at the wider band of data. And the wider band of data tells us Saquon Barkley is very good, and last week should not be the thing we hang our hat on. So, yes, bounce back is the answer. Hope we get some more questions here. Email, you can feed me some more from the Periscope if you get a chance, or if there are more there. If you're on the Periscope, come to the YouTube page. I'm answering questions directly here. I can see them quickly. If you're on any other platform, feel free. If you're on Twitter, don't be putting the questions in the Twitter. I'm not answering there. I'm answering here. So hopefully you don't get shut out. And I'll be doing this every week. Thanks, Hector. I'll be doing this every week, every Saturday, 4 p.m., at least an hour, and more if you have more questions. and we'll get this worked through. It's a lot more efficient for me than, scrolling down my Twitter timeline and answering 200 questions over the course of 8 hours. So, Johnny, I see McLaurin, Boyd, Fuller, and Anthony Miller. Boyd already played, so it's going to be a little tough to play him. Of the three remaining, I would probably rank them McLaurin, Fuller, and Miller in that order, and recognize that McLaurin and Fuller have the tougher matchups. They have a little more prominent roles in their offenses, but also tougher matchups. But that's kind of how I'm playing that one. Kevin O'Brien, full PPR. Jared Cook or Jonnu Smith? I'm probably going with Cook, especially with Michael Thomas out. You might have heard, high ankle sprain, not playing this week. Will not be available to you. So don't play Michael Thomas. On the other side of the ball, Monday Night Football, Henry Ruggs is questionable. Paul DeSantis. Hi, Paul. Half-point PPR, Hines, Slayton, Edelman, or Watkins in the flex. Man, I'm so tempted to play Slayton for the touchdown upside. So in a half-point PPR, I might be overstating that. I like his role, and I like the connection he has with Daniel Jones, and I'm not afraid of the matchup. So I'm probably going Slayton. Wouldn't talk you out of Hines. Not as keen on the other two, although they're very good players. Kudos to them. Brittany, one more. PPR, pick two wide receivers, Fuller, Marquise Brown, DJ Chark. So Chark is, to me, the high floor play here, right? So I want to get one of the high floor plays. Otherwise, kind of pick your poison. I'm probably slight lean Fuller, but wouldn't talk you out of Marquise Brown. Both of those fellows, Fuller and Brown, have tough individual matchups. The Houston defense in offense in general has a very tough matchup with the Baltimore defense. So I think Deshaun Watson's very good, and he can overcome tough matchups. I think Will Fuller can do the same, make big plays. I think the same of Marquise Brown as well. I think he's a player on the rise. So that's the order if you made me pin me down to that. Chark, Fuller, Brown. Zachary Taylor, 12-team, half-point PPR, Akers, Gibson, or Swift in the flex. Also have Chase Edmonds and Preston Williams. So, Preston Williams is a little bit interesting, especially if Devontae Parker plays and draws that Tre'Davious White coverage. I don't know that he will play, and maybe they'll figure out that if he's not full speed, they don't want to, shadow him. So I'm going to probably go with the running back here. Probably going with Swift. We saw him have some receiving equity in this game. We saw him get one touchdown and narrowly miss another. Matthew Stafford professes to still have confidence in him. I mean, I think Gibson's an okay play in this case, and so is Akers. I'm just going with Swift based on the role we saw last week, which the offensive coordinator says they're going to stick with. They like the rotation, meaning Adrian Peterson on the early down, Swift is a receiving threat, and Kerryon Johnson mostly a pass blocker. Sorry, Kerryon. Full point PPR. And by the way, Zachary, don't give up on Akers. I think he's going to come on and be the lead back. I think Gibson and Swift, all those guys will eventually be the primary backs. But right now, you're going to have a little trouble sorting through these things as you get through them. As we get in there. And Chase Edmonds, I think, is hard to play any given week right now, unless there's an injury to Drake. Kevin O'Brien, full point PPR, Slayton or Brown. Again, this is going to depend on what you want, right? Like I'm going to play Slayton in this one. I love Marquise Brown. I mean, these are hard decisions. In a vacuum, I would play Marquise Brown every single week. This is a tougher matchup. Darius Slayton doesn't have a tough matchup. He's coming off a 2-touchdown game in a very tough matchup. So, I don't want to be chasing the points from last week, but this does go back to last year. Jones seems to have a good connection with him. Man, I feel horrible saying don't play somebody in the Baltimore offense, though. So there you have it. Gallup, Kupp, or McLaurin, one flex. I'm probably going to go ahead and play Kupp. I mean, look, I wouldn't talk you out of Gallup in this one. McLaurin, I'm going to avoid just based on the coverage. As much as I like him, Patrick Peterson probably does not. And his quarterback is a little less than the other guys, although I think Haskins is coming on. Rick, PPR gamble on Ruggs playing Monday Night Football. Start Perriman. I mean, I'm not gambling on a guy that's questionable on Monday night. It wasn't like he was, turning the world over, right? And it's a pretty tough matchup. Yeah, Ruggs' list is questionable. So the Saints are pretty good according to what we saw last week on defense and dating back to last year. So, yeah, I'm going to probably go ahead and go Perriman. I know the San Francisco defense is good. Maybe the absence of Richard Sherman work in Perriman's favor, but I just think you can't put yourself at risk without any options on Monday night, and the guy going in is questionable. Were you encouraged by what I saw of A.J. Green, or could I drop him for Slayton? Thoughts? We have a wide receiver drop. Yes. So I was encouraged by the workload. They treated him like a wide receiver one. He didn't play like a wide receiver one. I'm hoping that gap narrows. I'm hoping and I'm heavily invested in A.J. Green. So there's that. I think I'm still willing to gamble. I mean, I'm assuming that since, you're talking about being able to drop somebody for Slayton, that there's an ample supply of talent in your waiver wire, and that you used to have some really good players ahead of them, so you're not needing to force either of these guys in your lineup right now. If that's the case, me personally would have the patience to wait and see if A.J. Green turns a little more into the A.J. Green we've seen in the past. The workload's already there. The quarterback seems to be good enough. I'm probably gonna wait it out. I wouldn't talk you out of making the move either. So yes, I was encouraged by half of what I saw from A.J. Green. Almost felt like at times, that first catch where he, hit the ground hard, and it wasn't the non-catch, where he hit the ground hard, and you're going, oh my gosh. It reminded me of Gronk's last year in New England, when every time he fell or every time somebody hit him, I thought, oh, is he going to get up? Is he going to be okay? So I didn't like that vibe, and maybe I'm reading too much into that. The 13 targets were joyous, however. So there's that. It's that's a little bit, Brittany, of what you're looking for in a player. I mean, if you want someone who can step right in and is obviously playing well, Darius Slayton is obviously doing that, dating back to last year. Again, I mentioned this at the top. I'm going to mention this again. Titans elevated running back Jeremy Nichols. Got a little news coming in. Just let me make sure there's nothing here that you need to know right this minute. And there isn't. None of it. Just some roster moves. Full PPR flex. Ronald Jones, Chris Carson, Malcolm Brown, I'm guessing. I'm going to probably play Chris Carson there because he's the best running back. Ronald Jones I could play because he has the best matchup. Carolina, horrible at stopping running backs, dating back to the start of last season. Nobody's given up more rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, there's that. I'm still probably playing the best player right now, who also scored 2 touchdowns last week. Tougher matchup for him this week, though. Matt Rust, hello, Matt. Needs 2 out of 3 and a half-point PPR. Juju, Kupp, or Emmanuel Sanders. I'm probably playing the first 2 in that one. And I think Juju looks like he's back because Ben is back, right? So I feel pretty good about that. Kupp or Sanders, that's, it's hard to imagine that being a decision. The fact that Sanders is moving in as the top receiving option is why this, seems like a worthwhile question. I'm probably sticking with Kupp, though, and hoping for the best. All right, everybody, we got a few more minutes here left, another 15 or so, unless we get more questions, and I'll take those as well. Remind you all to go to footballdiehards.com to check out the rankings. We have the staff rankings, which links to all the information we have up on the site, all the news and incoming info. It's very convenient. You find the late-breaking news section, the row of headlines, look down, search for your players' names. Very easy, however you want to do it. Look at the teams your players play on, listed that way as well. Tons of other content, including video, audio, columns from some really sharp DFS minds, including Kyle Dvorak, Justin Lanero. We have Brad Cruz, a renowned high-stakes player. The Scala, John Lobb in the house. Jen Ryan talked prop bets with Emil Kadlick this morning. We have Jason Brady on the live streams Sunday morning prior to game time. I think we're going to go at 10 a.m. Eastern time. The staff rankings, Brittany, are the ones that you want to look at. I'm adjusting those. We start out, working from the basis, and we're adjusting those based on the developments as they go along. You'll find links to each of the players when developments have anything for them. But tons of content there. You can also hear me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. You can hear the Football Diehards Friday and Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. You can hear us Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 11. We're on NFL Radio, SiriusXM NFL Radio, and the last 2 hours are simulcast on the Fantasy Channel. You can also hear me on Fantasy Dirt on Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern with Michael Fabiano. You can also hear me with Jeff Manns on the pregame show on Sundays. Again, the live content for the lineup questions on the website. You can get the Wednesday night initial DFS lineups with Kyle Dvorak and Jason Brady. Then again, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. You can go through with Emil Kadlick and Kyle and Jason Brady and go through and ask any questions, more interaction there. with the focus on DFS, but I'm sure they'll answer any questions you have. Kevin O'Brien, full PPR, flex, Deontay Johnson, DJ Chark, or Slayton. I'm probably going Chark, Johnson, Slayton. These are all so tight, you guys. I mean, as I tell you mine, when you're asking that question, I'm just going to suggest this going forward. I mean, it's a cool question. You should go check our rankings, check our projections, see what you think there, see if you disagree or agree or disagree. I don't always 100% agree with our rankings. They're built from an algorithm. I adjust them based on developments. But, to think that I have the prescience to divine between three guys of equal values and equal roles, which one's going to have a great week on any given week, is granting me powers I probably don't have. And that's the fun of fantasy, right? You're trying to figure out, you're looking at the matchup, you're looking at the workload. So I look at these guys and I see guys with similar workloads. I think Chark is a little more prominent in his offense. That's why I'd lean to him. I also think this offense may be playing from behind this week. Based on recent history, the Titans tend to have their number. So that's going into this decision. I think, as for Slayton, I think it's a pretty favorable matchup for him. I really like it. I think it's a little tougher matchup for Deontay Johnson, but not unbeatable, and he's been very heavily used. So I hope that helps you figure it out. Guru Anand, who should you have as your full flex in a full PPR? Ruggs, Lazard, Davis, Miller, or Connor? Probably not Connor this week. Normally it would be. Just you have healthy options. I'm probably going Davis if it's Corey Davis. Ruggs is questionable in Monday night. Lazard, I think it's a pretty solid role, but down the depth chart a little bit. Davis, top of his team's depth chart right now with A.J. Brown out. Scottie Miller also not at the top of the depth chart, but what a good matchup. So Connor was healthy again. This would be an easy decision. Connor's not healthy. That makes it an easy decision for me to leave him out. If you still feel comfortable with him, the fact that he's off the injury report, my first law of flexology would be feature back over any wide receiver. I just don't feel like, in my estimation, Connor looks like I'm concerned about that featured role this week. So I hope that helps. Is Joe Burrow for real? Would you stash him? I think he is for real, and yes, I would stash him. Obviously, they're going to let him throw the ball. They're fine with that. I think it's a little bit to the detriment of Joe Mixon, someone I invested in heavily and I had ranked highly going into the season. I don't think Joe Mixon is a disappointment yet. We're only 2 games in. But I do think that, Burrow gives them another avenue. Last year, one of the things that was great about Joe Mixon was he got used regardless of game script. If they were behind, hell, they had nothing else to do. They just kept handing the ball off. And he was getting something done down the stretch last year. Mixon was amazing. I think Joe Burrow's presence is going to give them other options. They have a slew of wide receivers, so many that Auden Tate wants to trade because he was inactive in this game. So, yeah, Burrow's for real, and I would stash him if I could, John. Thanks for asking. Kevin O'Brien, full PPR, Jonnu Smith or Hayden Hurst? I'm going with Hayden Hurst. And I'm hoping to, again, I mentioned this at the top. Someone asked, I don't know that Russell Gage is going to get 12 targets a week. I suppose it's possible. I think at some point, history tells us Dirk Cutter offenses heavily target the tight end. It's been a pretty good target share for the last 5 years. So it's been pretty repeatable. Maybe Hurst just needs a little time to work his way into the mix. I think this is a good game for that to happen. The Dallas linebackers beat up both middle linebackers, Sean Lee and Leighton Vander Esch, both out. So I think that works in Hurst's favor as well. Once again, if I didn't mention, you're not a subscriber to Football Diehards, you can go there now. Go to footballdiehards.com/free trial. Check it out. Look around. Brittany, if you want to check those rankings, go to the staff rankings. Kyle's rankings are great, too. We also have Gary Davenport's IDP tip sheets, and Gary also does a great shadow coverage column that you would enjoy, I'm sure, where we cover all the shadow matchups for quarterbacks. Gary, one of the brightest IDP minds in the business. Jerry _SHA Shaw from Periscope. Higbee or Hurst in a half-point PPR. This has been a one that I've been getting a lot. I'm leaning slightly. So I'm just going to go ahead. And if you check our rankings right now, you'll see Higbee's 5, Hurst is 7. Again, thinking I can divine within 2 players who's going to have the best game. The Philadelphia matchup seems very fortuitous. The Dallas matchup is not as good, although the linebackers are hurt. But I think the over-under in that game gives me some optimism. So I'd go Higbee over Hurst. There's not a wrong answer here. All right. Jennifer Sands. Half point PPR. Pick 2. Ridley, Hollywood Brown, DJ Moore, DJ Chark. Could flex 1. Again, I'm playing the depth chart here, and I'm going DJ Chark. And I'm going to go Ridley in this one. DJ Moore, I would love to play him. I hate the matchup. If you missed it last week, before Michael Thomas got hurt, he didn't do very much. Carlton Davis was a big reason why, and this is not a new thing. This also dates back to last year. So that's why I'm down on DJ Moore. I think he's going to have a great year. I just think the matchup is tough this week. And the same with Hollywood Brown. I think it's a tough matchup for him. So Ridley's an easy play in this one, and I'll go Chark as well. And if you wanted to flex one of those guys, I'd probably go Brown over Moore this week. And CJ Prosise promoted the active roster, so that probably doesn't bode well for Duke Johnson playing, I'm guessing. So watch that. A few more minutes here. Take a few more of your questions before I get back to work and start writing all the updates that I've missed out on while they've been happening. It's the 4 o'clock Eastern hour is the deadline in the NFL. So a lot of roster moves are made. Things are changed. Things change up. So we'll go sort through all those. The things that you need to know right now, though, before you set your lineups, before you make your final decisions, Michael Thomas ruled out. Henry Ruggs, Monday night, questionable. Also ruled out this week, Chris Godwin, George Kittle, Kenny Golladay. A.J. Brown is out. Jamison Crowder is out. Le'Veon Bell also out and on IR. Won't come back till week 5. Philip Lindsay is out this week. James Conner will play off the injury report. Miles Sanders will play off the injury report. Whether you trust either of those guys to have full workloads is kind of something you're going to have to work your way through. I'm not as eager to play Conner this week. I'm just don't feel comfortable with it based on what we saw last week and how well Benny Snell played and knowing he's coming in off the injury report. But can he really be full speed with a sprained ankle? I don't know. They can tape it up. I could rub some dirt on it. Okay, Kevin O'Brien, last one, full PPR. Zach Hurst or Jonnu Smith. I'm going Hurts. I'm still going to, this is the thing. We could chase the points from week to week, right? That's probably not a good way to do fantasy. The good way to do fantasy is to look at the anticipated role. We put a lot of research, I'm sure you did, into drafting Zach Hurts when you drafted him. I know you need to win games early, but also, taking those kind of chances, not my style of play. I don't know, that's to me not really even a question. I'm playing Zach Ertz, and I'm hoping that his role returns to what it was. And Jonnu Smith is a solid, kind of upside play. But again, I'm just not sure why I would do that. All right, I think I have another one from Periscope. Trade Henry, Paris, and Swift for David Johnson and Drake. If you need immediate running back help, okay, sure. If you need immediate help, if you need 2 starters at running back right now, sure, that would be doable. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up here momentarily. Again, it's footballdiehards.com is the website. You can check it out. We have tons of content up right now. We have tons of content going up right through each of Sunday's kickoffs to make sure you have all the latest information available to make the lineup decisions that are best for you. I want to remind you, I give you answers here. You're the ones who have to make the final decision. I'm trying to talk you through the thought process a little bit more than I am give you the right answers, because we all know the right answers are weird and funny things happen on Sunday. Jennifer, I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over Hollywood Brown and David Montgomery. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time and attention. We'll be doing this every Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I think Malcolm Brown is a solid start, like he was last week. I think until we see, Cam Akers start to gain a little. By the way, Cam Akers started that game last week, but clearly they have more trust right now in Malcolm Brown, especially when their premium carries come down near the goal line. So I think he's a reasonable start again this week. That's going to change, and we're probably going to not know it until after it changes. That's going to be a problem. But for right now, I'm still playing it. Once again, go to footballdiehards.com. Live content on Wednesday night, Sunday morning to help you with your lineups and advance the game, 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning. And appreciate your time. Should you start Ryan Stecken? Probably not. Don't know who your choices are, but not sure that's probably a good play.